Είναι ένα πολύ ωραίο σήμερα ζέσταμα και για μας, που σε 2 εβδομάδες ξεκινάμε το Gimme Shelter εδώ λίγο παραπάνω στο Γκαγκάριν. Θα τα πούμε στο τέλος αυτά. Έχω δει πολλές ταινίες όλα αυτά τα χρόνια φυσικά. Όλες οι ταινίες κάτι σου αφήνουν. Αυτό, μένα μου έκαναν φοβερή εντύπωση 2 πράγματα σε αυτή την ταινία. Δεν κάνω spoiler, αλλά θα το καταλάβετε. Το ένα είναι, ξέρετε, σε κάθε ταινία όταν φωνάζεις ανθρώπους να μιλήσουν για κάποιον, λένε τα καλύτερα, είναι όλοι πάρα πολύ ευγενικοί, έως αποθεωτικοί. Εδώ ρε παιδιά, έχει από bandmates, φίλους, συγγενείς, fans, θρύλους, θα τους δείτε στην οθόνη. Όλοι, δεν είναι μόνο αυτό που λένε, είναι πώς το λένε. Μιλάμε για την αποθέωση, για απόλυτο respect σε αυτόν τον άνθρωπο. Το άλλο που μου έκανε εντύπωση, ήσασταν όλοι εδώ χτες. Ωραία, αυτό που θα σας πω λοιπόν και δείτε με τα μάτια σας. Εγώ παραδέχομαι, δεν τον είχα δει on stage. Ρε παιδιά, δεν ανεβαίνει επάνω, τον είδατε και τώρα. Και γεμίζει όχι το stage, είναι τεράστιος ο τύπος, είναι θεός, είναι...
Είναι ο τελευταίος.
Είναι ο τελευταίος, λες. Κάποιος λέει στην ταινία, δεν θυμάμαι ποιος είναι, κάποιος λέει ότι ήταν η Σάμπαθ, ο Ουάινο και όλοι οι άλλοι.
Λέμπη, Φιλάγιος.
Έτσι λέει ο τύπος. Δεν το λέω εγώ. Μην μπούμε στη διαδικασία τώρα να συζητήσουμε για μεγάλους τεράστιους και τα λοιπά. Έτσι. Λοιπόν, να ξεκινήσουμε. Ωραία. Να καλέσω στη σκηνή λοιπόν την Σάρλι Πάτσις, σκηνοθέτη και σύντροφο του Ουάινο, και τον ίδιο τον Ουάινο. Η κουβέντα θα γίνει βέβαια στα αγγλικά. Στο τέλος θα αφήσουμε και χρόνο όποιος θέλει να μιλήσει, να συμπληρώσει, να ρωτήσει κάτι. Αλλά και κατά την πορεία, αν είναι κάποιος θέλει κάποια διευκρίνηση ή οτιδήποτε, σηκώνει χέρι, δεν τρεπόμαστε. Εδώ είμαστε παρέα, ακουγόμαστε κτλ. Guys, thank you so much. It's an honor.
Thank you.
Good to see you again. So, first things first, we start with a lady. Why make a film about this guy? What was the inspiration when you came up with the idea?
So, in my opinion, it had to happen because he's one of the most prolific musicians in hard rock and with the most immense and incredible catalog. And I felt that I was the one to do it because not only am I a huge fan of everything that he's ever done musically, but also as a filmmaker, my passion other than making films is rock and roll, so it's kind of an awesome hybrid. And I respect him immensely as a person. To me, he's a symbol of truth, he's a symbol of freedom. And as Brittany Elliott says in the film, Wino's a fucking gift to rock and roll. He's a gift to this earth. So.
I mean, how did you go about doing the film, making the film? I can see the both of you like sitting at home, talking, Charlie taking notes, going through archives, going through old footage. Was this the case?
So the portion that I filmed personally, it started when we were going on a road trip to go bring his motorcycle, first in pieces, to Austin, Texas, over to Jackson's chopper so it could get repainted. And then we road trip again to go pick up the chopper. So, you know, at the time I figured I might as well start filming now because we're here right now. We're fucking spending 10 hours a day in the car rolling. I might as well pick up the camera and go. So we started doing that. That was in 2020. And along the way, he would just call up really fucking badass friends of his that are also, you know, legends in heavy music, like Bobby Liebling, Jimmy Bower, you know, Dixie Dave, and it just so happens that our route from upstate New York passed through all their hometowns, so we started interviewing, and as far as like the other stuff, the archive, I would, sit for hours and hours on end. I'd release him to go play guitar, do whatever the fuck he wanted to do, and just go through it all. And, there's so much great footage that other people shot that I was able to, use little bits and pieces of in this. And then every now and then I'd call him in and, be like, what do you think about, this awesome fucking clip I found from 1989 or whatever it might be. And just a side note, the footage of him doing Iron Horse in the film with the whole crowd singing along, that was from Athens, and it was so fucking rad.
Rhino, someone comes to you, Charlie, or any other filmmaker for that matter, and tells you, listen, I want to make a film about you. What's the first thing that pops to mind?
Well, it didn't start out quite like that. She came to a show and she came there specifically to get me,
And it worked.
That part of the story is a little bit X-rated, but it's like, I was in love with her from first sight, and so I didn't get her phone number. We had to fly the next day, and I remember I managed to track her down, and I had some snafu on my phone that when I would try to call or contact her on Facebook, it was from some chick named Angel. Right? So she's like, is this really, why no, is this some chick named Angel, But it worked out, and I found her, and, forever grateful. So she threw the idea out there, I'd love to make a documentary on your career, and I said, well, let's start with the motorcycle down in Texas, because a friend of mine, Matt Jackson, from Jackson Choppers, great guy. He's a music fan. I met him several years before when I was playing acoustic guitar with Catelli, and he was expressing interest in helping me with some stuff with my motorcycle, like some fabrication and some painting and such. And I said, man, I love Texas. So we decided to just take a trip to Texas, and that turned into 3 trips to Texas. But that's also another story. But it gave us the time to do what we needed to do for the documentary.
So you've been together for how long now?
About 4 years.
And how long did the film take?
About 4 years.
About 4 years.
And I must say that at first we were like, there's no way, she says, there's no way I can do it by myself. We're going to need some help. And, we reached out to people, and we reached out to people, people that had money, friends of mine, might be interested in. And everybody was afraid to commit, and she ended up doing the whole thing by herself, man. I mean, we had some help on music editing from a friend of ours, Ben, and that's it. She did everything else herself, so, yeah.
And what did you think? Like, how's like watching yourself on the screen? Like, did it make you reflect on your life and your career? Did it make you find out things about yourself, or even remember things?
All that shit. And when I watched it, we screened it. We did a debut screening in Woodstock. It's a very old theater, and we wanted to see it before the people saw it to make sure that it looked good on a big screen with pixelated. Man, it brings tears to my eyes. I mean, it's like, as you can imagine, seeing yourself, and it's quite a bit of adulation and everything. But I just want people to know that I appreciate it, and what I do cannot be done without everybody else, and so it really is an integral thing. And I will say that the early days of the first 3 years or so of doing that stuff, I was living pretty hard, and so that's all in there too. So you can enjoy it for what it's worth.
Were you kind of nervous, Charlie, when he first saw it?
Yeah, because I very much cared what he thought and the way that it came across to him, and also a lot of other people. Like the first time I showed it to Brian B-Dog Constantino, I really care what people who love his music, how they reacted, because it's sacred to me. But when I looked at him and there was a tear in his eye, I'm like, okay, I can relax now.
So you made the film. The film is based in chapters, okay? Each chapter being more or less the band that Weiner was in. Of course, it was in purpose. but you did it on purpose. But you did it because it served the script and helped you with the timeline, or you thought that the viewers would follow the timeline better if you did it this way?
Right. I'd say a little bit of both. Mostly it was because there's so much music in his career that, like, you know, it could be multiple movies. Each band could have a movie. And I wanted to make sure that I at least got, like, enough time with the really heavy hitters, The Obsessed, St. Vitus, Spirit Caravan, The Hidden Hand. So the way to organize it, I felt, because there have been different band members and all these different, you know, lineups, was to kind of do it by chapter, and it did give it a little bit of a chronological through line. And as you'll see, it is intercut with, like, the modern day stuff that we were filming along the way. But I thought, you know, gave it a little bit of a structure, and it was a way to get a little bit more in touch with each of the different bands that have been so legendary.
I want to thank Dave Chandler and all the people in the bands involved, because, you know, they gave us permission, and so yeah, just thank you.
And all those people, I was just saying that to the guys before you came on stage. Man, people tend to say good things on camera for other people. But the way they've been talking about you, the things they say and the way they say it, that's pure respect right there.
I mean, it's a little, you know, being a human being, I mean, it's a little, you know, it's a little bit tough sometimes, because it's sort of like, oh, shucks, you know. You know, but I mean, I do appreciate it. You know, I do appreciate it, and you know, my heart's on my sleeve. My life's an open book, and you know, for what it's worth, it's been a really good life.
And going back to the chapters that we were talking before. I mean, you've been around for so long. You've been through so many things, and you came out a winner. You're here with us, talking to us, touring, playing your music, making music. I'm sure you have a favorite chapter in your life. The most favorite and the least favorite, maybe. Or something that you don't want even to think about or talk about. Would you share it with us?
You know, drugs were always a very important part of my life. And for reasons of, like, that they can help you, they can also hurt you. And, you know, my children, you know, that's one of the best parts of my life. And my wife, it's also the best part of my life. And, you know, partying with my friends was also a beautiful part of my life. But I just want to say, you know, just because I need to say, as a father and as a friend, you know, hard drugs will fucking kill you. And, you know, it's like I walk around in the streets, you know, and I see a lot of stuff here. And, you know, it brings me back. But I also know that we're here, we're sitting here, we're alive, and it's beautiful. So, you know, you need to celebrate every day. My kids have no desire to be rock and rollers. You know, they play music and everything like that, but they're not trying to walk this walk. And you know, as a father, you know, you can't try to be their friend. You know what I mean? You can only try to be what you can be. You know. I'm lucky. I got a couple birthday calls, so I feel grateful for that, you know. But hey, man, you know.
Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah. So, Charlie, how about you? You probably found out things about him that you didn't know while researching, and coming up with those things and those chapters. Same question. What was your favorite chapter and least favorite chapter?
Well, something that I found while doing research, which really blew my mind, and it made it in there towards the beginning, is there was an interview he did in the Vitus days where, in 2012, where he's basically talking about all the things that ended up happening in 2020. So I was like, holy fuck, like, I think it was reality check interview. So I already knew, like, he's got a sharp intuition, but that kind of blew my mind. That was something I found while researching. I can't say that there's any chapter that I don't love. I mean, it's great to see people that you love and care about continue to evolve in a positive way. And my introduction to him and his music was through St. Vitus. And then after St. Vitus, you know, I learned about The Obsessed and Spirit Caravan and so on and so on. But for me, I mean, I'd say my favorite chapter is maybe the Obsessed chapter because it's so good it got 2 chapters.
Well, I was sure that you were going to tell me that. I was sure from the moment I saw the film. So my main takeaway from the film was hope. I'm sure Charlie made it with an intention for all of us because we're different people, different personalities. Each one's takeaway might be different. But Charlie, you must have had a goal whilst making this.
We all know that the world is fucked up. We all know pain. We all know loss. I think that when I thought about what I want people to feel when they leave the theater, it was definitely inspiration and hope, because I think that's what really sets Wino's music apart. It all is heavy as hell, especially in the way that it sounds, and people who don't understand the lyrics might not realize how actually positive and uplifting they are. There's a lot of light in what he talks about. And I think that that's integral who he is as a person and a musician. It's like you gotta look at the demon in the face, but you gotta do something about it and try to make it better.
Yeah, in my opinion, Hank Williams Sr. is the godfather of doom, you know?
Okay.
And the Obsessed is a hope band. I mean, I understand the term doom, I understand the term stoner. I mean, people need a way to describe things, you know? But, man, the Obsessed is a hope band.
One last thing from me before we turn to the floor, and it goes to Charlie as well. We started with her, so we might as well end with Charlie. I ask this whenever I have the chance to talk to a filmmaker. I always ask them this question. And now, especially you, in your situation, I have to ask. So, does it take a fan, a true fan, or a fan, to make a music documentary? I mean, you've spent your last 4 years, you spend each and every day together. Does it come in the way? Does it help? I mean, you're a storyteller, you have a story to tell us. And in telling a story, you have to be somewhat impartial and objective. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that whatever the relationship is between the filmmaker and the subject will absolutely inform it. I think if someone who wasn't a fan was going to make it, they definitely wouldn't have had as much fun doing it. But I think that, you know...
is it in the way? Does it help being a fan or spending time with this guy?
Yeah, it definitely helps. And what I wanted to do was, you know, while being aware that I have a certain perspective, which I think is, you know, a valid one as a fan, also to remain objective in that I wanted to represent it in a truthful manner. That's why I didn't censor out things like, you know, the drugs, the partying, like maybe, you know, a little bit of lower points, depending on your perspective. I didn't want it to be censored at all, even though I know his kids are going to see it, stuff like that. And yeah, I just wanted it to be real. And it is from my point of view, as it is like you can't completely escape that, even when you're trying to be objective. But I think it tells the tale of, you know, his music first and foremost, and then you get to know the man a little better.
I think you did an amazing job.
I think you did too.
So I guess you're both happy with the outcome. Cool. Let's turn to the floor. Έχετε καμιά ερώτηση, κάποιος, κάτι να μας πει, κάτι να ρωτήσει, απευθείας? Όχι. Βιάζεστε να δείτε την ταινία? Σίγουρα. Ναι.
Do you feel that this documentary kind of turns full circle your whole life career so far? I mean, you've been doing this for almost 45 years. That brings others who wouldn't even imagine. Your film quality, being a role model, a guiding light, an inspiration for all of us. And we're thankful for you. That's how we make it. So do you believe it's a turning point where you start your career and your life in a new perspective after that documentary? Or will you still remain the same, doing things your way without this affecting you?
And, you know, every day is an adventure. You You know, every day is adventure. We could wake up tomorrow and we would be all in chains, you know. And all I can say is that we have to believe in ourselves, and we also have to have strength in the power that as the people, we have power. I mean, I cannot say enough that I will continue making the music that I've always have. I mean, nothing will get out that is not up to my personal standards, and man, I set the bar high. So, you know, it's like when we did Sacred, I said that the last thing we did was the Church Within. I knew Sacred had to be as good or better. I know that Gilded Sorrow has to be as good or better than Sacred. I believe that it is. I mean, so I will give you everything that I have, 100%.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And let me tell you that it's very important with the people around you and everybody involved. I mean, I couldn't do what I do without you, and my band.
It's a challenge.
I mean, there's been times when I have been on my knees in the dirt, and I've been picked up on my friends, and yeah.
Well, the problem is that I have too much to ask you, so I'll only ask one thing. So, in your perspective, what differences do you see nowadays in music as a musician and the music business in terms of 70s, 80s, let's say?
Okay, I need to say it again, sorry, for the rest of people to hear. Okay, so in your perspective, I want you to tell me what's the differences in your different experiences in music industry now in terms of as you perceive it compared to 70s, 80s where you got your peak, let's say.
Well, you know, you're going to find me listening to music probably from the 70s. I mean, not just because of my age, I just found it like, you know, the 70s and that style of rock music, you know, it was still brand new. You know, there was still the adventure there. There wasn't you know, all the burdens of time, you know. But I will say that, you know, every generation, or you know, as the years pass, there's always going to be something fantastic, and there's always going to be something shit. I mean, there's two kinds of music, good and bad.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
You know, and it's like I like listening to. I've always been touched by the visceral stuff. I've always been more touched by the melancholy stuff. You know, the darker stuff. I don't know why. It's just something that, you know, when I came out of the womb, it's just something I like. You know, Black Sabbath. Okay. When I was 12 years old, I saw Sabbath. I think it was in between Masters of Reality and Volume 4. Wait a minute. I had Volume 4. We had Volume 4 already, but I saw Sabbath early on. You know, I can still tell you what Ozzy was wearing. And I will say that is really was one of the major impacts on my life. But my very first concert was the James Gang. You know, Joe Walsh had left, and it was this record called Straight Shooter. And it was my very first concert, you know, full haircut, first joint, you know, that kind of shit. And but so, you know, man, it's like to try to answer your question. You know, there's spectacular music happening right now, and there's also not spectacular music. One thing I will say is, you know, the influence of the darker forces. You know, it's like I'm not taking anything away from anybody or anything like this, but personally, you know, the demonic stuff, you know, and all that. You know, I leave that for somebody else, you know, because once again, you know, it's like I look to the light. You know, how you choose to worship, you know, your God or your higher power. It's really up to the individual, you know. And some people like they worship a darker force. That's okay, man. That's okay. There's got to be light. There's got to be dark. sometimes I don't understand why there's got to be dark, you know. But hey, man, the music is the music is emotion's companion, right? And I think that the music is also the universal language, and that's why we're here. So I hope that answers your question.
You made a comment. I was still listening to your last record. It was how that came to be. Because I love to listen. That's why.
The one we did before, Sacred?
No, it's sacred. You did one that's in the past.
Sacred's in the past. Yeah, the new record's called Gilded Sorrow, and it's new stuff. I mean, we have you know, me and Brian, you know, carried over. We got Jason and we got Chris, and you know, man, we put together a fucking killer record, dude. I mean, when I was in that record, it just spins my head. So, I mean, wait and see. I hope you like it. You know, and you know, try to get in a couple punches. You know, it's like I don't like oppression. I don't like, you know. And there's so many people out there that they're just waiting to see you fall. I mean, so many people just they want to see you fall. You know, they would enjoy to see you fail. You know, but guess what? That bus is going to have to be a whole lot bigger to keep me under it.
Να δώσεις πίσω το μικρόφωνο. Και δώσ' το για θα μας πάρει στη δουλειά εσύ.
Hey, first of all, thank you for all the music through the years. I'm sure for many of us here, it's been very important to me growing up. I'd like to ask, having seen your life again through this documentary, like a new perspective maybe, or a retrospective, whatever, is there any point along the way that you changed, that you maybe, any regrets you maybe have?
Well, you know, I mean, to say that you don't regret anything you've ever done, I think that would be a stretch. You know, that would be a stretch. I've done quite a few things that I regret, but you know, I seem to have a guardian angel. You know, I seem to have a guardian angel, and like, you know, so I understand that, and so you know, I mean, I love getting high, but you know what, man, you can't do that forever. You know, and so you know, I would say that you know, at the end of the documentary, pretty much says it all where I'm at now. So hopefully that will answer your question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tell us something about the father. About the father.
About Lemmy? Okay.
Only Lemmy.
I'll tell you a couple stories. I got a couple funny. I got a couple good stories, right?
Τώρα μπλέξαμε.
So okay, this chick I used to know in Maryland is where, you know, I spent most of my youth. Well, she was Lemmy's dealer, right? And so one day she says to me, "Oh shit, Lemmy's been calling me for 3 days. I better call him back. He's probably scraping bags by now." Right? So at that time, somebody had stayed over at my house, like a drifter friend of mine, and he had left behind a small patch, like a German patch in World War II. And I didn't know what it was, but I knew Lemmy would want it, you know, because he was a collector. And so she said, "Well, you know, my old friend Ron is with me. Do you mind if I bring him over? He's got this, he's got some, you know, World War II patch he wants to sell you or whatever." He's like, "Oh yeah, bring him over." As soon as we got over, he opens the door. He's got his book out already. Yeah, he's got his book out. He's like, "Oh yeah, that's authentic. That's World War II Red Cross." He says, "Well, how much do you want for it?" "What am I supposed to sell Lemmy? How much?" You know? So I said, "Well, how about $100?" And he goes, "Well, the Blue Book value is $25. I said, "Cool, I'll take $25." And I handed it right to her because I owed her the money for the drugs, you know. But the funniest story was when we did the Probot shoot. And so we did the Probot shoot, so it's noon, you know, it's 12 o'clock noon, and me and Lemmy are sitting there, and Dave, you know, Dave Grohl comes popping in, you know, Dave Grohl is all happy, you know. "Hey Lemmy, hey Wino, how you doing?" I'm like, "Good." Lemmy's like, "As good as could be expected at noon, you know." And meanwhile, his manager just continuously follows him around all day, filling up his drink, you know. And behind him, you know, we take a break. Well, anyways, the Probot shoot, you know, of the stage was spinning, so the monitors are on the stage. We're just playing to the song. We're playing air guitar, right? They asked me. I didn't even play guitar on that song, but they asked me to do it, so of course I'm going to do it, you know. And so early in the day, Lemmy said, "Oh, do you have a pick?" And so I gave him one of my picks, and he goes, "Oh man, this is really a thick one, you know." And so at the end of the shoot, they were like, "Okay, it's 4 o'clock. Lemmy's time. We're gonna wind it up with Lemmy. We're gonna shoot all his stuff first, and then he's gonna leave." So he's like, "Hey, Wano," and he's gonna give me my pick back, but I forgot that I gave him a pick. And so he's like this. So I thought he was just high fiving me. So we had like really awkward, this really awkward thing, So yeah, but man, he was one of the smartest people I've ever met, and the only thing in his refrigerator was Carlsberg beer, and in his bathroom was a gigantic can of Listerine, and that's it, man. That was it. May he live forever. Definitely forever.
God bless. God bless Lemmy.
Άλλος. Θες να πάρεις το μικρόφωνο μπροστά.
Όχι, εντάξει, θέλω να μάθω.
Όχι, ρε, δεν ακούω. Πάρε, να νιώσεις εσύ λίγο. Έτσι το κάνουμε.
So yeah, I'm not gonna. I'm a bit hard with sentimental stuff. I really want to thank you for being there. Want to thank you for being there for me, even though you never knew me. It's a feeling, to know that you're not alone when you are. It's a great feeling. So thank you for that. I'll try to make a question, but more straightforward. When it comes to lyrics and when it comes to tuning, how do you approach lyrics? Because you have songs that are quite pragmatic, quite straightforward and streetwise maybe, but then you have things that are quite more poetic, let's say like The Last Embrace or the stuff in Shrine Builder. So how do you approach lyrics? And also when it comes to tuning, because as far as I can tell, I could be wrong, but as far as I can tell, you play with different tunings in many things that you've done. So how do you approach singing when it comes to tuning?
Those are very good questions. When I'm writing a song, bravo. When I'm writing a song, usually I have a musical idea, right? And then at some point in time, I'll develop a concept, like The Last Embrace or Solar Benediction or whatever the concept might be. And when I put the concept together with the riff, then that's when I can start to build the lyrics around. When both the concept and the riff and the lyrics all come at once, that's what I call the divine inspiration. But that doesn't happen very often, but it happens sometimes. Sometimes you just, it just happens. Like I've had dreams before where the riff has stayed with me through my dreams, and I've carried it through. Raised Wires is a good indication of that. But as a rule, I usually get a concept. Like words. I love word play. I call it like word sluttery. So it's like the concept. When I fit the concept to the music, then that becomes a song. And most likely I'll be in the studio the day that I'm recording, just tweaking a lyric or two. Just to get everything fitted in there. And as far as tunings go, okay. So early on, I realized that if I tune my whole guitar a half step down. Instead of being A440, go a half step down, so to like E flat, E fat, as we call it, right? Then it pulls my vocal thing into perspective. Then all of a sudden I can hit the notes I wanted to hit. And an interesting thing about that is, and then from that, then I would Victor Griffin. Okay, I gotta tell you, Victor Griffin. When Joe Hasselbander was dating Victor's older sister, he went to Tennessee and he came back and said, "Man, I just saw this fucking guy playing guitar like you won't believe it. I'm bringing him to Maryland and we're going to put this band together. We're going to put a new version of Pentagram. It's going to be off the hook." All right, so when Victor shows up, he was tuning his low string only down to B, okay? And I was like, wow, I've never seen anybody do that. I've seen people tune it down to D, but never B. And so I was blown away. And, all your sins.
All your sins, yeah.
Yeah, all your sins. The Death Row theme. All those songs were in that tuning. And so I asked Victor. I said, can I borrow that tuning? such an inspiration. So then I wrote Howling Mask, I wrote Solemn Jackal, and that's your name. But so starting with the guitar, a half step down, and then dropping the low string, and then I thought, what if I go even farther? And so then I tried C, and then I tried A or G sharp. And that is like Lost Sundance. Song we played last night, our new song, Stone Back to Bomb Age, and another song that I won't let the cat out of the bag, but there's another song on that too, on our newest record that you will hear soon that I think is probably one of the heaviest songs that I've ever written. But so yeah, half step down to start with, the low string down to A sharp, G sharp.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Το μικρόφωνο εδώ. Το μικρόφωνο είναι κάτω το μικρόφωνο. Α, το έχει, sorry.
Thank you for your music throughout the years. It's also helped me a lot in various ways. I know that you are an avid reader, that you read a lot. Was there at the point an idea about the book, either autobiography or something more prose oriented?
I'm in the process of writing a book right now. Through my whole life, everybody's told me you have great stories. And, there's also been quite a bit of fuckery in my life, in my career. It's like, sometimes I feel like, getting kicked in the face or, foot on the neck is kind of like the normal. So, in the book, I'm going to name names. All right? I'm going to tell stories. It's all going to be true. I'm going to name names. I mean, I'm not going to let it hold back. I'm not going to hold back. It's not out of vindictiveness or anything. It's just going to be the truth, straight up truth.
And you also have an art book with lyrics, and you and Jason teamed up to do the greatest riffs.
Oh yeah. I've got Jason Taylor, the guitar player for Success. He had this idea to transcribe the entire record of Jug Full of Sun into tablature, and so he did this, and it's fucking amazing. So the next time around, or pretty soon, we'll have that available. So, yeah. Good job, man.
Yeah.
Usually the book comes first and then the film, but you did it the other way around.
Well, the book's going to be a lot longer, and the book's going to be a lot dirtier, man.
Can't wait for the film. Άλλος. Εδώ. Δεξιά. Ποιος έχει το μικρόφωνο? Εκεί.
So I'd like to ask both of you, regarding the documentary, is there something specific that you would like to include in the documentary, but for any purpose you couldn't put either because there wasn't enough material or because of practical reasons? Or...
I mean, if there's anything that I wish we could have touched more on, it's like, unfortunately, there's been quite a few deaths. I mean, Bruce Falkenberg, the bass player for the Hidden Hand, he's passed away pretty recently. Dave Sherman, the Spirit Caravan bass player, he passed away also. Mark Adams passed away. This isn't like an exploding bass player thing, so but don't worry. but unfortunately, I'm not trying to make light of the situation. I mean, of course, we would like to celebrate these lives more. Within the small confines of the movie, maybe we couldn't. And also, these are very recent occurrences before we were recording. So, I guess to answer your question, if there's anything else that
Yeah, I agree with what Wino was saying, being able to honor, these fallen, friggin' unsung heroes, and we might actually start making just little shorts about all these guys. Lucky enough, when we were hanging out at Bobby's interviewing him, Dave Sherman came over. So this was before he passed. So we hung out with Sherman there, and I got to interview Sherman, and that's in there. You guys will see. The only other thing that I wish I could have had, more time to include was I couldn't even get to all of his bands since he's been in so many. So I wanted to feature Place of Skulls, for example. So I sneak in Long Lost Grave, but I didn't get a whole chapter.
From all the people, then now that you mentioned Bobby and the shit for Bobby, of all the people in the film, I enjoyed Bobby the most. He's awesome. So make it
He's super intelligent. He's really, really intelligent guy. I mean, he's got a bad rep Lately he got a bad rep, and I'll tell you this right now, that what you hear, that's not the whole story. I mean, the story's not pretty, but it's not quite as bad as it's made to be. Okay, just to say that for Bobby. Bobby has always been a good friend. When you're in Bobby's world, you're in Bobby's world, man. When you go to see Bobby, you're gonna be there for a couple of days.
I know because we showed a few years ago. We showed the film about Bobby in the festival. So yeah, I know what you mean exactly. Ήταν κανείς στην προβολή του Bobby, του Pentagram. Ο κύριος εκεί είναι, το ξέρουμε. Α, ήσασταν πολύ. Cool. Όχι ακριβώς. Άλλος ερώτηση.
When are you coming back?
As soon as possible.
Next week. Εκεί.
Regarding Bobby, because I love Pentagram, is the documentary a good representation of his story, or does it paint him in a wrong light in any way?
I'd say it's pretty accurate. Personally, I wouldn't want to be filmed waking up in the morning with no teeth. But hey, I woke up in the morning and have no teeth, but it ain't on film.
And also, can you please tell him to...
Which drug is your favorite?
Speed! Of course. Heroin, I've done a lot of times. It's just not my thing. Speed was always my favorite because I don't mind being alone. And when I'm alone, maybe I paint a picture. Find some cool shit, find some cool trash on the street for your apartment, whatever.
Coming back to Bobby, what you said about him, that's the coolest thing about him. Like he waking up with no teeth and a camera and everything else, that's Bobby right there. I mean, you know him better than I do.
I remember I was sitting down in a garage in Maryland with some friends of mine. They know nothing about music. These are like, car people, hot rods, motorcycles, kind of like Maryland rednecks. And like, we're looking for, we're up, obviously, we're up late, whatever. They're looking for something to watch. He's got this big screen in front. I said, oh no, let's watch the Pentagram. Let's watch Bobby's thing. They couldn't believe it. I mean, to be there with people that know nothing about Pentagram and to see this, they were completely stunned. And that's what it should do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Άλλος.
Το που θέλαμε να μάθουμε το μάθαμε.
Εντάξει, είστε καλυμμένοι τώρα. Η απάντηση σε αυτή την ερώτηση είναι πάντα αυτή. Άκουσε με. Ναι. Μιλάμε πολλούς.
One more, I apologize. We know that when you made the Probot album, you were intimidated having Lemmy beside you because you said you were nervous and it was an honor for you. So when the Shrine Builder album came out, they were all intimidated to have you on the album. I mean, we all know that Al wanted Wino, Dale wanted Wino, and Scott Kelly wanted Wino.
It's a little bit different.
They've all said they couldn't do it without you. I want to ask the same to both of you. I mean, how easy is to have a respect for someone and then gain it back from people that respect you? And how easy is to make this documentary, killing or hiding the life companion and the fan, to become more professional and do it without this affecting?
Honestly, it took, sharing it with different sets of eyes throughout the way to kind of, get that clarity a little bit. Like, even there's a couple parts that he ended up having me cut because they were a little bit like him waking up in the morning without blah, blah, blah. But I appreciate other people's perspectives a lot. And I shared, the first person I showed it to was a fellow filmmaker and friend of mine. So it's difficult to make the separation, but I think it's also, a valid perspective to be someone who knows him intimately and also who's known the music for a long time. It's a challenge, but it's doable.
Just to elaborate on the Shrine Builder thing, okay. When I was still in Spirit Caravan, Spirit Caravan had just broken up, I did the Place of Schools record, and I got a call from Al, and he said, I got a backpack and I got some riffs. That's all I said. If you know Al, well, you might know, I will tell you that Al is a very special person. And he says, I got a backpack and I got some riffs. And I was like, I guess that means he wants to jam, you know. And so I couldn't do it at the time, and so he put together Ohm. But you know, when me and Al got together and we decided to do Tribola, and you know, Hey Kids left, and then Al said to me, he said, "Man, I'd really like to get Scott Kelly involved. You know, what do you think?" I said, "That's fantastic. I just did an interview with Scott Kelly. I think we're on the same page. Let's do it." We got Kelly, so it's me, Kelly, and Al, and we're sitting around and we're like, if we could have the perfect drummer, who would it be? And we all said Grover. And so we called him, and he said, "Okay, we'll do it." You know. And so we had never played together. All four of us. We had never played together as a unit. Me and Al got together, and then me and Kelly got together, and then me and Al and Kelly. Then on the night before we recorded that record, we all got together, all four of us, for the first time, and we ran through the songs we were going to do. And we went into the studio, and it's like Dale says, it was like a scientific experiment that actually worked. So yeah. I always said I'll do the second record. I want that to be on record. I agreed to do the second record for reasons that are too difficult to explain. It never happened, but I think that's a phenomenal record, and that was a phenomenal band. And I was proud to be in that band, man.
Άλλη ερώτηση? Εντάξει, πάντως είσαστε το καλύτερο κοινό, το κάνουμε αυτό το πράγμα, το κάνω 6 χρόνια. Σπάνια σηκώνεται κάποιος, όχι μόνο να κάνει μια ερώτηση, με τέτοιες ερωτήσεις. Μπράβο ρε παιδιά, ευχαριστούμε.
Thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it.
And can I say one last thing?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so in this film, I highly encourage, if you feel like drinking, smoking, singing along, that's the vibe. So enjoy.
Λοιπόν, πριν σας αφήσουμε στην ταινία, μια που είσαστε τόσο καλό κοινό, θέλετε να έρθετε και στο Κίνησεν τώρα από τις 16 του μήνα ή όχι? Ναι. Τη μέρα του Θρας. Δευτέρα 23. Δευτέρα 23 Οκτωβρίου. Η ιστορία του γερμανικού Θρας, ναι, είναι ό,τι φαντάζεστε. Και είναι μέσα όλοι όσοι φαντάζεστε. Οπότε ναι, ελάτε. Έχουμε και τους Ampen Live στο stage. Οπότε είμαστε cool για Δευτέρα. Ραντεβού. Και με ερωτήσεις. Θα έρθετε με homework, θα έρθετε με σημειώσεις, θα κάνουμε ερωτήσεις. Εγώ θα είμαι πάνω, εσείς θα είστε κάτω. Τέλεια. So guys, I guess that's a wrap. Thank you so much. I had a great time. Thank you for the wisdom, thank you for the music. Thank you. Thanks for everything.
Thank you all very much. And I hope you enjoyed the film. At the end of the night, I'll sign your records, whatever you want. You can find me, probably be in the balcony. But yeah, whatever you need, it's my pleasure.
Ευχαριστούμε παιδιά, ευχαριστούμε τον κόσμο.
Really speak